about some current immigration trends. You've probably heard of backlogs, quotas for China and for India. Countries, there are a limited number of green cards issued each year. It doesn't matter what category. It's capped by Congress. So if you reach that cap, then you have to wait in line. Countries with a lot of people applying, India and China, Mexico and Philippines, then you have a couple of years to wait. It depends on your category. If you're family sponsored, unless you're married to a US citizen, or unless you have a child who's a US citizen willing to sponsor you, then you might be waiting for a few years. Even for employer sponsor, for China, the EB2 category for advanced professionals, that's taking 4 years right now. They're only at 2008. So, and EB3, which is surprising actually, the past couple of months, okay, so there are a couple different categories for employer sponsored. There's EB2, which is for advanced professionals. You either have a master's degree or at least a bachelor's degree and 5 years of experience. That's a higher level. Or EB3, which is the lower level, which is everybody else. It could be a bachelor's degree and at least 4 years of experience. It could be a bachelor's degree. It could be a chef job. You don't even need a degree. You just need 2 years of experience. That's all EB3. For some reason, there aren't as many people applying for EB3 right now. So even EB3 China, they're at 2011, whereas EB2 is at 2008. So there are more EB2 people waiting in line than EB3. Now, this has only happened the past couple of months, and who knows how long this will last. But actually, a lot of people in EB2 talking about people in EB2 downgrading to EB3, and usually it's the opposite. Okay. China and India have the same problems. India is even worse. They're waiting almost 10 years. Okay. Immigration trends, probably heard about last year, 2 years ago, deferred action for childhood arrivals, DACA, D-A-C-A. People who came to the United States as children, under the age of 16, with their parents, maybe they lost status, they're out of status. If they've been here since they were young, they can apply for a work permit and documentation to authorize them to stay. Now, it's not a green card, but it's at least some documentation, at least a work permit. The I-601A provisional and lawful presence waiver. People who do not have lawful status in the United States, even if you have an employer willing to sponsor you, or you have a family member willing to sponsor you, or you have the investment funds or EB5, sometimes, even though you have that sponsorship, you can't apply for the green card. You can't file that second step, the I-45, because you don't have legal status right now. Some categories, if you marry a US citizen, it doesn't matter what your legal status is right now, it just matters that you came to the United States legally. You could have overstayed 10 years. You still can apply for a green card. Employer sponsored, it's more difficult. You have to show that you're legal right now. EB5, you have to show you're legal right now. If you can't do that, then usually you would have to leave the United States and apply for your visa, immigrant visa in Guangzhou. Now, if you've stayed in the US illegally for a long period of time, then that's usually a bar for you to come back. You can't come back for 3 years, for 10 years. But there's a waiver for that, and it's called, it used to be called an I-601, it still is. But you can't apply for the I-601 until you leave. Now, what if it's not approved? Because waivers, they can be denied. Then you're stuck overseas. So a lot of people don't want to risk it, even if they're eligible to file, or so they just stay here, they don't do anything. The president last year started the I-601A process, which means you apply for the waiver before you leave. You're in the United States, let's say you have the I-526 approved, you apply for the waiver here before you leave, get it approved, and then you apply for your visa in Guangzhou. Maybe you stay a week. The hard part about the waiver is you have to have a US citizen or green card relative in the United States. who's going to experience extreme hardship if you were not here to help them. So that's why you can get a waiver, because of a relative who needs you here. Right? And the last thing is new laws. Everybody's talking about immigration reform. But right now it's still just all talk. There was a Senate bill that was passed during the summer, but it's stuck in the House of Representatives right now. There isn't anything final. We usually don't want to put any emphasis on these temporary bills because it's not final. The final thing could be very different. But the Senate version right now, it's talking about border security, so hiring 20,000 more agents to patrol the border, building a new fence, making what's called E-Verify, which is employers have to have this ability to check the legal status of their employees online, social security numbers, other documents. They make that mandatory for everybody. And also provides a pathway to citizenship for people who are illegal. And that's what everybody's talking about right now. But that could be an 11-year process. The issue is right now it's stuck in the House of Representatives, and the House right now they're saying they want to do everything piecemeal. They want to break it all up into separate pieces. The issue with that is everybody wants to talk about the pathway to citizenship, and so if they break it up instead of one big package, then that's never going to happen. They're going to focus on border security, focus on employment verification, and not do the pathway to citizenship.
I have a question about
Yes.
the EB3. You
Yeah.
talk about the EB3 right now for China and India is like they have a shorter waiting period.
Yes.
So kind of person who is waiting in the EB2 category, then file a EB3
Okay, so,
concurrently.
right. So the first step is labor certification, the perm. You do the advertisements, no qualified U.S. workers. If that is approved, the next step is the I-140. That's the employer petition. It shows that the employer can actually pay you for this job, and that you actually qualify for this job. You have the master's degree, or you have the experience, or you have that bachelor's degree. Now, once the I-140 is approved, then you wait, usually wait for the quota. And so you wait in line for the priority date. With this EB2, so if you qualify for the EB2, if it's at least a master's degree, or at least a bachelor's degree and 4 to 5 years of experience, then you would file the I-140 in the EB2 category. But you could file an EB3 category if you wanted to, because a master's degree job still qualifies for EB3, but in the past, EB3 is a lot slower, so there's no reason to actually file EB3. You file EB2. But this past couple months, because of this strange reversal, people are actually thinking, well, what if I file an EB3 instead? Now, just because you've already filed an EB2, you're waiting for the quota, you're still allowed to file a new I-140 in EB3 category. You just ask the Immigration Service to transfer your labor certification from the old file to the new file. Okay? So it's like an upgrade, but in reverse. You're downgrading.
Right. So what if you transfer the labor certificate? Does it affect your EB2 process at all?
That I-140 is still approved. You have to make sure you're not asking them to withdraw the EB2 petition. You're just saying to transfer the labor certification to the new EB3 petition.
Okay.
So then you still have the EB2.
Yeah.
Now you filed the I-140 for EB3. Because the only issue is it might take some time.
Yeah.
You have to transfer the files. There's no premium processing. Premium processing is you pay an extra $1,225 for a 15-day decision. There's no premium processing because of that file transfer. They're not willing, they're going to give you the check back. So it'll take maybe 4 months to get that new approval. Who knows if this reversal is still going to be there in 4 months. Now, we think it still is. So a lot of people are talking about this downgrade.
Okay. So let's say you wait for 4 months to transfer the labor certificate.
Yeah.
So once you get approved, then you file another I-140?
No. You file the I-140 to ask them to transfer.
Oh, that,
So
okay.
once it's approved, then you'll have an I-140 approval notice,
For the
priority
EB3
date,
category.
the priority date for your EB2 case, but it says EB3. If it's current, then you file your green card application right away. If you already have a green card application attached to the EB2, you ask them to transfer to the EB3 case also.
That's good. What's that?
Yes.
You talk about E1 and E2
Yes.
only apply for two countries. Like if a Chinese, if a China-born person got citizenship from a country that has citizenship, does that account?
Yes. Now, just because you're born in a country doesn't mean that you're attached to that country forever. In some cases, it is. When we're talking about quotas, we're talking about China, India, Mexico, Philippines for the green card. You're always attached to the country you were born in. It doesn't matter if you get citizenship in another country. But for temporary work visas, E1, E2, you just have to show you're a national of a treaty country. You can be a citizen of Canada. Canada is a treaty country.
New Zealand is? I don't know.
Yes, I think so.
We can talk about that later.
Yes, if you actually just Google treaty countries, you can find it. But I think New Zealand is.
Good, thanks.
Okay, so questions and answers. Questions about anything?
Another question.
Yes.
So for example, I was waiting for my EB2 number, so I filed I-140 to transfer the labor certificate.
Yes.
Once that is transferred, then if I'm current, I still have to wait. For example, if I wait until, let's say EB3 is still coming early, then I can file I-485 at that point.
Well,
for EB3.
technically, you can file the I-45 right away, because you're asking for the priority date that's current, EB3. So when you file the I-40, you can file the I-45 right away. Now, if you don't want to risk it, then you can just wait. But you can try filing right away.
Yeah,
If
so
if
in
your
your,
priority date is current.
Yes.
so what are you talking about? If somebody's priority case, I mean, priority date is 2011, he may be good to downgrade. But if he's like 2013,
That, no,
he
that doesn't help,
need to
doesn't
do
help
it.
you if it's 2013. Right
Yeah.
now, I think it's October 2011.
Yeah, unless
Yeah,
your,
October
I mean, your
2011.
priority date is current in EB3, then you might be able, you might want
Yes.
to take this advantage. Otherwise,
Right, then it doesn't help you.
Yeah.
Right, right.